header, what we need to do, we need to go ahead and have a scroll view. Whatever we are going to have right underneath this header has to be scrollable, or the widgets that or the components that we're going to put right underneath the header. Okay, but our header has to be stationary. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have a scroll view. Make sure that the scroll view has been imported right on top. Okay, so your scroll view has to be imported here, and we have to close it. Okay, and we need to give our scroll view a little bit of style. So let's go ahead and do that. So for the style, let's go ahead and put it inside our component first, and then we can transfer it to our styles, these styles underneath. Okay, so first we need to go ahead and hide the vertical scroll indicator. Okay, so we're going to have show vertical. Okay, this prop is a prop of the scroll indicator, scroll view. So here we have to set it to false. Okay, so we need double brace, and then we're going to set it to false. After that, we need to style our component here. It has to be in a single brace, not a double brace, but our style has to be in a double brace. So the first thing that we need in our style, we need border. We need a bottom border radius. Okay, we're going to go with a bottom end radius. Okay, and for radius, we have to give it a radius of 30, and then we need start. Okay, and we have to give it the same radius of 30, like that. So now we need to go ahead and work inside of our scroll view. So inside of our scroll view, we are going to have our first component, which is going to be a category list. So we need to go ahead and create a component with the name category list, and it has to be a JSX file. After it has to be a JSX file. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to rename. I don't want files to conflict, so I'm going to delete this file since I named it wrong, and create a new component. I'm not in Shima, but in components. Paste the name, and it has to be a JSX file, like that. And here we need to create our component. After creating our component, the first thing that we need is to have our data, because we need to pass data to this category list. Okay, so we're going to pass the data as a prop here. So this data, we're going to call it, we have to give it a name which is similar to the name that we're going to use at the end of the day, because we don't need to. Okay, so here let's just go ahead. The data, we're going to put it inside, so that's okay. So here we have to import our data first. So our data is coming from this UI data. Okay, so we need to import the data first. So we're going to import UI data. Okay, so here we're going to have state variables. These state variables, we're going to use them later, but it's better if we just create them now. So I'm going to explain a little bit about these state variables a little bit later when we are using them. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and create them. So the first one is going to be selected, and we need to set selected. And here we're going to use state, and we're going to initialize this as now, like that. Right at the bottom, we're going to create another, not another, but it's just a list. We're going to create a list with 5 numbers, 5. In this list, we have to include the name first. Okay, so this one is going to be categories. Let's just say categories is equals to that list. Let's just close the list here. And right here, we're going to receive some props. So here we're going to set selected. So these are going to be called from our home page. They're going to come from our home page. So the first one is set selected category. The next one is going to be set selected selection. Let's call it section, not selection. And we're going to have set selected value, like that. Okay, so these ones, we're going to leave them like this for now, but we need to create them in our home page as state variables. Okay, so next thing, let's just work on our UI. So as for our UI, we're going to have a flat list. So you need to make sure that the flat list has been imported right on top here before we proceed. And our flat list is a closed component. And the first thing that we require in our flat list is the data. Okay, so our data is going to come from UI data. Here we have to get categories. After that, we need to disable the horizontal indicator, scroll indicator. We have to set it to false, right? And we have to make this horizontal. Now let's add a little bit of style. So for our style here, we're going to just have margin top, and we're going to give it a margin top of 5, like that. And we need a key extractor. So for our key extractor here, we're going to pass the item that we're getting from this data. And from that item, we're going to get the ID. So here, we're going to get item.id underscore ID, because we're using the data from the database. So it's going to be like this. Okay, so let's go underneath. Right underneath, we're going to require a prop by the name render item. So in our render item, we're going to go ahead and get an item. This item is going to come from this data, so it will be a single object coming from the list. So if we click here, let's go to our categories. An item, it will be a single object from this data, from this list. Okay, after getting an item, what we need to do, we need to render the component that we need to display. Okay, so first we're going to wrap our item in a touchable opacity, and then we're going to close this. So right inside of this touchable opacity, we're going to require a category item. Okay, so we're going to create this category item as a separate component. So back to our components, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call it category item, and it has to be a JSX file. Let's go ahead and create the component. After creating the component, right inside, we need to receive the item. Okay, so we're going to receive the item as category, and we're going to have selected the value, selected the one that we are setting here. We're going to push it to this component that we're creating. Okay, so let's get rid of this text, and inside here we need to pass a style. So in our style, the first thing that we need to have a margin left. So we're going to have margin left, and we're going to give this a margin left of 12. Padding, we're going to give this component a padding of 5, and we need to align items to the center like that. We need to also give our component width. We need to give it a width of 80, and let's give it a height, and we're going to give it a height of 50. Let's give it a height of 55, like that. Let's justify the content, and we're justifying the content to the center. Let's give it a border radius. We're going to give it a border radius of 15, and let's give it a border width. So this is something that I'll explain in a little bit while the component is functional, because it's really hard to explain this style while you don't have the component. So we're going to give it a width of 0.5. Now we need to set the border color. So here I'm going to have border color. So for the border color, I'm going to use this value to set the border color. Okay, so here I'm going to use this and the data that we're getting. So category.value is equals to selected. Then we're going to have to display a border color of colors.secondary. Else we're going to have our color is transparent, and let's give it a shadow color. So our shadow color is going to come from our shadows. Okay, our shadows has to be all caps, shadows.small. So these shadows are coming from our constants as well. So if you see here, we've imported them. Okay, so right inside, we're going to require an image component. So make sure that this image has been imported. So we don't have an image right on top, so we have to import the image. After importing the image, we need to close this component. Okay, so the first thing we need the source of the image that we're going to display. So our source is going to come from a URI, from a URL. So we need to pass the parameter URI, and then we need to specify where the image is coming from. So our image is coming from item.image URL, like that. So we need to give this image a style. So for our style, we need to give it a width. We're going to give it a width of 30, and we're also going to give it a height, and our height is going to be 30 as well, like that. So we are done. Right underneath, we're going to have a text. Okay, so we already have our text imported right on top, so we just need to end our style in here and our text in here. So our text is going to come from our category prop that we send from, that we're receiving from the parent component. So here it's supposed to be title. Okay, and let's give a little bit of style to this component, to the text component. So here we're going to have our style. So we need font size. So our font size is going to be 13, and our font family is going to be regular, like that. So we finished with this component. What we can do now, we can go back to this category list, and right inside of our touchable opacity, what we're going to do, we're going to import the category item. Okay, category item, and it's a closed component, so we need to close it. And if we hover over, we require category, that's the data, and we require this state variable selected. Okay, so here we're going to go with selected first, and selected is equals to this selected that we have right here on top. And our data here is supposed to be category. So this category is going to be this item that we're receiving here. Okay, so in here we need to just pass the item. So let's go back to our home page. In our home page, we need to import this category list here. Okay, so here we're going to have our category list, and we need to close our category list. Okay, so now we have our category list. So one thing that we need to take care of are the state variables, because here we're not passing any. So we need these three, 1, 2, 3, the variables to be pushed to this particular component. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the state variables in our home page, and then we can continue. So right at the top of our home page here, we're going to have consts. So the first one is going to be, let's hover over selected categories, selected category. So here we need an array. Let's paste this, and let's have our value. So here it has to be lowercase, and here we need to use state. So initially it is going to be null. So let's go ahead and take care of the other ones. We need 2 more. We hover over and we get the second one, set selected section. So here we have selected section, like that. We hover over again, selected value. So here we define our setter first. We get the title, we paste it there, and then we put this as lowercase, something like that. So here we need to pass our state variables. So we just press enter, set selected category. We're going to map it to set selected category. Let's go ahead and handle the next one, set selected section. So here, set selected section, and right underneath selected value, set selected value. Okay, so we need to go back to our category list to create a function to handle these scenarios. Okay, but for now, in our home page, we are done.